Coming up on From the Core, we visit a hospital for Florida's favorite mammal.
We grip it and rip it with the cross flares at Skyway Park.
And we find out about another unsung superstar of history.
All of these stories and plenty of interesting facts.
Right here on
From the Core. Hello and welcome to From the Core. I'm Pedro.
Hey, I'm Caitlin, and we both represent the Mayor's Youth Corps class of 2011. Hey Pedro, don't you love discovering new things?
Why, yes I do.
And so do I. That's why we've got a TISC desk.
Exactly, Caitlin. And here is fellow FTC member Katie with what she thinks you need to know.
Hello Tampa, I'm Katie and I have a few things to share with you. Let's begin. Imagine not having to pay a cent for your entire college education. The Gates Millennium Scholars Program will give highly motivated and academically successful minority students a scholarship to any United States college or university of their choice. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation sponsors the scholarship, and it is an amazing opportunity for minority students with significant financial need. Visit gmsp.org for all the details. We already know that dogs are some pretty amazing animals, but a recent case study published by the digestive health journal, Gut, adds to previous research suggesting that dogs can be useful for cancer detection. Japanese researchers say they've successfully trained an 8-year-old female black Labrador retriever to sniff out colon cancer on the breath of a patient. The researchers say there is an organic compound in the cancer patient's breath that only dogs can smell. During the study, the dog was reported to have been 95% correct when identifying cancerous samples in humans. In addition, studies over the past few years have shown that dogs can detect melanoma, bladder, lung, ovarian, and breast cancer also by sniffing the breath of cancer patients. The discovery of dogs being able to detect cancer can be the next step in the long ladder to find a cure to cancer. And finally, every American citizen should know what the Supreme Court is, but not many truly know all the facts. The Supreme Court of the United States is the highest court in the country for all cases and conflicts arising under the Constitution of America or its laws. In other words, the Supreme Court has the final word on the interpretation of the Constitution. The U.S. Supreme Court building is located in Washington, D.C., and all cases considered by the court are addressed there. In fact, if you were to walk into the Supreme Court building, you would see the words "Equal Justice Under Law" etched in the stone above the main entrance. Ensuring the truth of these words is the job of the Supreme Court. There are 9 Supreme Court justices, 6 men and 3 women. They decide which cases to address each term. The justices are nominated by the President and are approved by Congress. They serve for life or until they choose to retire. What an honor! Well, folks, it's been fun. I'm Katie, and I just thought you should know.
Hey guys! Back in 2000, the Lowry Park Zoo opened its David A. Strauss Jr. Manatee Hospital, the only nonprofit care center dedicated to the treatment of manatees.
Since then, the staff has treated over 280 manatees and released about 150 back into the wild.
Ever wondered why or how they do this? FTC reporter Swetha has the answer.
Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo is known for its wide variety of animals. But did you also know that its manatee hospital rescues, rehabilitates, and treats injured manatees? Manatees are aquatic mammals that love to move through our waterways. You can think of them as the lawnmowers of the sea because they prevent harmful plant life from overtaking bodies of water. The Tampa Bay area is home to over 200 manatees in winter and 100 during the summer. The West Indian manatee is currently on the endangered species list, but the David A. Strauss Jr. Manatee Hospital does its best to sustain the manatee population.
I'll make sure you get them there. Yeah, I'm going to help you get them in a little bit more.
In the forefront of manatee rehabilitation is this woman. Tanya Ward has been known to care for several manatees at a time, and each one has a story.
You got it?
This is Larock. She has no mother, so Tanya became her nurse. When the rock arrived, Tanya and the other caretakers kept her under 24-hour care. As caretaker, a big part of Tanya's day is feeding the manatees. Since manatees eat from both the water surface and bottom, she offers a variety of vegetation to these gentle creatures. At the hospital, the manatees have plenty of space to roam, and their lifestyle is close to what it would be in their natural habitat, so that when the time comes to transition back to the wild, the manatees are prepared. Every new patient gets the same amount of dedicated care, and each mammal is marked with a special tag, so that they can easily be identified.
So when a manatee first comes into the hospital, outside of seeing what initial treatment they have, we pit tag every manatee behind their shoulders when they're released. And so basically that's a form of, if we don't hear about that manatee, no news is good news. If they end up dying for some reason after they've been in the hospital, the path lab can tell us by the pit tags.
Manatees come to the hospital for several natural and unnatural reasons. During the winter, the hospital rescues more manatees due to cold stress, but humans can also harm them. For example, a baby manatee named Colada was severely injured by a boat.
Because the calf is still nursing from her mom, they had to be rescued together. Now what happened when the calf first came in, do you see the white mark across the backside of her? Basically, when the boat hit her, it fractured and broke 3 ribs, which in turn put a tear in her lung. So when it put the tear in her lung, when she came in, she actually had air in her body cavity, so she was actually floating. And that's what we call a pneumothorax.
A major reason why manatees are so endangered is due to the fact that many people make bad decisions when they are out in the manatee's environment. Here are some things you should do. Always obey boating laws. If a manatee approaches you while you're in a boat, stop the motor and wait for the manatee to pass by. Do not leave fishing lines or other trash in bodies of water. Never feed manatees, and remember to observe them without touching. The biggest reward for Tanya and other caretakers at the Manatee Hospital is the ability to save the West Indian manatee one patient at a time.
I love to be able to help, get them better and to release them is the best part. A lot of people ask me, do you get attached? And like, no, they all have different personalities and I can remember just about all of them. But when you put them in the water and they swim out of the sling, it's just the best feeling ever to know that you helped them to get back to the wild.
The West Indian manatee is listed on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Endangered Species List. This is a mammal that we do not want to lose. If you find an injured manatee, report its whereabouts to your local Fish and Wildlife office. You can also contact the Lowry Park Zoo. And for more information about the manatee, visit fws.gov. Now it's time for Follow the Story, a monthly segment where FTC anchors chat with the members of the Mayor's Youth Corps about issues ripped from the headlines of local and national news sites. Here with me to talk about lowering the teenage dropout rate and teaching while sharing life experiences are NYC contributors Megan and Isabel. Ladies, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Isabel, according to a recent study, Florida is one of the 5 states to have a high concentration of schools with high dropout rates. What are some of the reasons you think so many teens don't graduate?
Well, I think that most of the teens, some teens don't graduate is because they may not have the motivation or the money to go to college, so they may not think that there's a point to continue their education in high school.
Megan, how about you?
I also think that large classes play a role. They don't get much individual assistance from teachers and they don't feel like they matter in their schools. And required standardized testing that they fail don't encourage them to try any harder.
Do you think that is something teens have to fix, or would it be the teacher's responsibility?
I feel like it's both of them. They each play a part in teens dropping out of school. The teachers need to try to play a bigger role in their education, but the teens also need to see that they need the motivation to keep going.
Over the next 3 years, Florida will be receiving about $3 billion in federal stimulus money for public schools education. In return, Florida must offer up improvement strategies for their schools. How do you think a school with a low graduation rate could improve?
I think that a low graduation rate could be improved by maybe extending more scholarships to kids who aren't doing so well, to get them motivated and get them wanting to go to college so that maybe they'll try a bit harder.
Megan?
Also, hiring more teachers might alleviate the large classes and give students a more individual experience in their classrooms.
Do you think that there are ways other teams around Florida could help?
Supporting their friends is maybe one of the only ways they can. If they have a friend who's thinking about dropping out, they can tell them their opinion, give them support, tell them reasons why they should stay, but I don't see much else they could do.
Isabel?
I think that encouragement would be the best thing, and like also if you really care about the person, they're like a close friend of yours, you could maybe offer tutoring if you're good at something and like try to really help them like stay in school and like help them out with what they're struggling with.
Now we are going to change the conversation to a topic from an article in USA Today, where rock stars are coming straight to the classrooms. At many colleges across country, rock and roll icons are bringing their knowledge and experiences to the classroom. How do you think this would be helpful or unhelpful for budding musicians? Isabel?
I think that this could be helpful because rock stars offer like key experiences that they themselves have done, and like for people who are aspiring to do the same things can really learn from that as opposed to something from a textbook, which you can't learn much from. It's not real life experiences.
Megan?
While it's helpful, the other side of it, it gives an idealistic approach to their careers. They feel like if they keep going, graduate from college, one day they'll be a rock star. While the rock stars should come to their classes, they should also tell them very few make it big in that industry and give them a realistic idea of it.
One star actually took one of his classes behind the stage of one of his performances to show them what it's really like to put on a show. Do you think this was beneficial or negative for someone hoping to get into the music business?
Definitely beneficial, in my opinion. Like, it goes back to you see the real experience of it, and like you get to see what's going on behind the scenes and like see if that's what you really want and if it's something that you think you can do and strive for.
Megan?
I agree. Well, you may see some negative aspects of the business. You see a realistic approach to it, and it's definitely beneficial for the students.
Some people think that it is ironic that many of today's icons made it big without a college degree, yet they are endorsing rock music as college subjects. What is your opinion on this?
This is definitely a good thing. I mean, like, if someone wanted to pursue a career in music, obviously we want them to try to get a better education to back it up. So if they can go to college and pursue their dreams, it's probably like the best for both of them. Like, they get an education in it and they get to pursue what they want to do.
Megan?
I agree, especially since the beginning years of college don't only include classes in your major, so they would get an extended education in other subjects also.
How do you think this method of teaching could be incorporated in other professions? Megan?
I feel like real-life experiences apply to any profession, so any major could bring in someone who does that as their career to speak to their students and tell them what it's really like to be in that industry.
Isabel?
I agree. It would provide like the best like outlook on what they want to do in life, and like they'll get to talk to like someone who's done it and been in their shoes, and if they're personable enough, probably get to know them well enough to really learn from the other person's experiences. Incorporating this in other businesses would help because it would help any industry, and like you can always learn from others' experiences, especially from others of people who've been there and done that.
Ladies, I would love to continue our conversation, but our time is up. Thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned. There is more to come on the other side of this break.
Yes, ready. Go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
We're back. Hey Caitlin, have you heard about lacrosse?
No, what is it?
Lacrosse is a team sport that has become very popular in Tampa. Fellow FTC reporter Jay has the latest on a pastime that's more than a passing fad for teens.
Lacrosse is a very exciting sport with a very interesting history. Tom Lozier, Director of Field Operations for the Shooters Lacrosse League, gives us a look into the history of lacrosse, which can trace its roots back to ancient Native American communities.
Basically started with North American Indians, and it was basically the Indians had their tribes, and each tribe had a team, and they didn't play on a kind of like any sort of regulation field. They just played for miles and miles, and it was basically kind of like a war game.
Lacrosse is becoming very popular in Florida, a place where it had been practically unknown a mere 20 years ago.
Florida in and of itself has started to get a lot of recognition as an up-and-coming area with lacrosse, but if it could ever get to the point where it could rival the hotbeds of Maryland and Baltimore area, Long Island, upstate New York, I think Florida is the weather year-round, and kind of feel that although fields are tough to come by, it's still a sport that you can play year-round, and I think that gives us a real good advantage compared to places up north where they have to deal with the weather a little bit more.
Right now, 176 high schools in Florida have boys lacrosse teams, and 142 have girls teams, many of which are in the Bay Area. One lacrosse player who hopes to soon be playing for one of those high school teams is Nate Bleckley, an 8th grader at Benito Middle School. Nate currently plays for the new Tampa Raiders. I asked him if he could teach me a few moves.
You're going to have your left hand down by the stick, bottom of the stick right here. It's called the butt. And you want your right hand as very top as you can. If you're just holding like this and running, they're just going to knock it out of your stick. But if you're running with it and cradling and they try to knock it out, it'll stay in.
It's all in the wrist. Even though lacrosse is an exciting, intense sport, the real purpose of the game is to have fun.
Rah-rah Seneca, ready on 3. 1, 2, 3. Rah-rah Seneca!
Yeah, we like to say rah-rah, whatever team we're playing, just as a sportsmanship, demonstrating sportsmanship, saying it's a good game to them, because we know that we're all just trying to have fun out here playing, so we're going to celebrate the game, not the win.
Coach Joseph Canavina also instills the code of sportsmanship to his team.
It's the Clearwater lacrosse team. We have a spring team that plays out of Clearwater, and this is a bunch of the guys from that team who've decided to continue on and get some more playing time in the summer. We've got kids from all over Pinellas County, even some kids from Hillsborough County that have come in. A lot of them are former football players, soccer players, baseball players, and then they play lacrosse in the spring and the summer.
Coach Canavina shares with us why he thinks that lacrosse has become so popular.
It's a great game. Like, ask any one of these kids out there playing, you play it once and you're hooked. It's got everything. It's got the best of basketball. It's got the contact of football. It's got the speed of hockey and basketball. It's got the finesse and skill of soccer. It's got everything you want.
Garrett Tingis, one of the stars of the Young Yellow Jackets, loves to play this sport.
It's a thinking game, and I like to know where everyone is on the field, and I really like to run around and play. It's a great game. Just have fun, use your mind, and do what you need to do, and just listen to your coaches.
At Skyway Park, this is Jay reporting from the Corps.
Lacrosse has come a long way since Native Americans first played the game, but the love of the game is still the same. If you want to get in on the action, visit tampalacrosse.com.
In our continuing series on Great Floridians, FTC contributor Malik is here to talk with me about the man responsible for putting Fort Lauderdale on the map. Malik, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks.
Who are you focusing on for this month's Unsung Superstar of History?
This month I'm focusing on Frank Stranahan, who was an Irishman from Ohio.
What did he do in the state of Florida?
In the state of Florida, he basically helped found Fort Lauderdale and basically took on a whole bunch of roles that needed to be done in order to create Fort Lauderdale.
What were some of the special characteristics about Mr. Stranahan?
He was very honest, and in his business, he was a banker. He helped develop a lot of parts of Fort Lauderdale that required honesty and dedication. People always felt like he was sort of a friend and less like a business person.
That's really cool. What legacy did he leave behind?
I think the legacy he left behind was being a person you could trust and count on to be there to do the responsibility. For example, like I said, he was a banker. He bought and sold land. He was the postmaster. So I think the legacy he left behind was just being that person you could count on and partly the founder of Fort Lauderdale.
In your opinion, how could Mr. Stranahan have left a better legacy for himself?
Well, he ended up killing himself. But I think if he would have stayed, if he wouldn't have ended his life and fought through all his tough times, he would have left a better legacy by showing people that no matter what you're going through, you can get through it.
And how did his family continue to leave the legacy he left behind after he died?
They continued by keeping his jobs going. They started the Stranahan Family Foundation, and they took people in and helped wherever they could.
Malik, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks.
Wow, Mr. Stranahan really did make a mark.
Yeah, he did.
It all goes to show you that hard work and dedication can help you go far in life. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darks there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live United for education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
We're back.
Just like we promised.
Here at From the Core, we support teens in expressing their unique passions and ideas. This time around, our core commentator is Tyler Mullen.
He shares with us how his personal experiences, the bitter and the sweet, have made him a wiser young man.
As a high-achieving student, I have suffered from the belief that wisdom arises from textbooks, homework, and classrooms. This rash and simplistic theory, however, disregards the value to human life. Action becomes obsolete when I assimilate wisdom with only academics. Age seems irrelevant to wisdom if IQ, not experience, defines it. The third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, refuted this notion. He said, "Do you want to know who you are? Don't ask, act. Action will delineate and define you." This I believe, that wisdom comes from experience, that my actions have established my ideology. Isn't it true that most wise men are old? Even as a teenager, though, I have grown in character by facing hardships and learning from those outcomes of those experiences. In elementary school, I began an ongoing battle with migraines and chronic headaches. Various doctors have offered different theories as to their cause, but still I have found no answer. No CT scan, MRI test, or X-ray shows the root of my problem. Throughout my freshman and sophomore years at Jesuit High School, my illness kept me out of school for many days, often on test days or dates when important assignments fell. Rumors began circulating that I was skipping school to complete assignments, or to gain extra study time. No one, including some teachers, seemed to believe, despite multiple letters from my doctors, that my condition prevented my attendance at school. My peers dismissed my illness as a mere discomfort. No excuse to miss class. Illness became a double-edged sword during this time. My headaches often prompted my mom's decision to call the school and inform them of my absence. As my sick days exceeded double digits, people began complaining that I was using my diagnosis, or lack thereof, I should say, as an unfair advantage. I started to fear the judgment of my peers and teachers. Quite frequently, this apprehension yielded yet another crippling headache. So began a cycle of absences, which prompted even more questions. Though my GPA never suffered from my recurring absences, I became overwhelmed with the unprecedented effort that my illness required of me to maintain good grades. These hardships created a temporary cynicism. I began to doubt my faith and my character. As I slowly resolved these problems, however, I faced a startling realization. I matured and recognized the values that these problems taught me. After overcoming the hurdles that life's race threw at me, I attained the wisdom that arises from overcoming difficult situations. I have grown to understand why my classmates and teachers denounced my absences by learning to account for the different perspectives in a given situation. As a result, I have developed a more forgiving nature that allowed me to excuse the ignorance of some skeptics. I acknowledge that all of life's endeavors yield invaluable lessons, some more difficult than others. Famous 19th century author Henry David Thoreau best summarizes this thought. What you get by achieving your goals is as important as what you become by achieving your goals. This, I believe.
That's our commentary for this month and the end of our show.
Thanks to the FTC crew for once again putting on a great show. And a special thanks to all of you watching at home.
Caitlin, once the show's over, there's only one thing left to do. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Visiting a sea cow?
You read my mind. The sea cow is the nickname of the manatee.
Lowry Park Zoo, here we come. But I digress. Let's bring it to a close, Pedro.
Certainly, Caitlin. Remember, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, always do your part.
We'll be back soon with another edition of
From the Core.